Have you ever noticed how some people seem to control everything around them without saying a single word? They don't shout. They don't argue. They don't explain themselves endlessly. They simply withdraw. And when they do, everything shifts. The energy in the room changes. People who once felt secure begin to question themselves. They wonder if they've done something wrong. They chase. They panic. They feel a strange emptiness without even knowing why. Now imagine if you did the same. Imagine if you stopped reacting to every little thing. If you stopped being constantly available, emotionally, mentally, physically. Imagine if you chose silence instead of giving automatic responses. Imagine if you stepped back instead of exploding. Do you know what would happen? The entire game would change. This is where the power lies. When you stop being so accessible, the world around you goes into crisis. Why? Because people are used to controlling you through your reactions, through your emotions, through your predictability. They rely on the fact that you'll always pick up the phone, always respond to the message, always explain yourself, always say yes when you really want to say no. But the day you withdraw, the day you become a little more unavailable, people realize they don't know you at all, and that unsettles them deeply. Carl Jung once said, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to a better understanding of ourselves." Think about that for a moment. When you become inaccessible, when you stop feeding others with your energy on demand, who gets desperate? Who gets irritated? Who tries to provoke you just to make you react? That's where the truth is revealed. Because in those moments, you don't just see others more clearly, you see yourself more clearly. You begin to understand how much of your life, your peace, and your identity you've been handing away without even realizing it. Most people spend their lives saying yes when they mean no. They respond quickly so no one gets upset. They keep conversations alive they don't even want to be in. They give and give until at the end of the day, what's left? Tiredness, frustration. A strange emptiness that no amount of scrolling, eating, or drinking can really fill. And the reason for that emptiness is simple. You've been too available for people who don't even deserve a moment of your silence. But let's be clear. This isn't about turning your back on the world or becoming a cold, detached person. No, this is about choosing yourself. It's about what Jung called individuation, the process of becoming whole, authentic, complete. And the first step in that process is understanding that silence can be stronger than 1,000 arguments. That withdrawal, when it comes from awareness and not from fear, is not weakness, it's power. So now I'll ask you directly, how long are you willing to be controlled by the emotions of others? How long will you continue reacting like a puppet every time someone pushes your buttons? How long will you keep letting people pull the strings, knowing that with each reaction, with each forced yes, with each unnecessary explanation, you're giving away a piece of your energy? Because here's the truth. Every time you do that, every time you offer instant access to your emotions, your time, your energy, you make yourself predictable. And everything predictable eventually becomes a tool for others to use. You become like an emotional emergency button. People push when they want validation, push when they want comfort, push when they need attention, and then put you back on the shelf until the next time. And the worst part? You don't even realize it's happening. You convince yourself that being available makes you kind, makes you valuable, makes you worthy of love. But it doesn't. In fact, it makes you disposable. Carl Jung warned us about this through the concept of the persona, the mask we wear to be accepted, to be loved, to be recognized. You know this mask. It's the smile when you're exhausted. It's the I'm fine when you're breaking inside. It's the quick reply to a message you didn't want to answer. It's the endless explanations and justifications because you think you owe the world something. But here's the cruel reality. The more you wear this mask, the more you disappear from your own life. The more you center yourself in other people's stage, the more you vanish from your own. Being available all the time is a subtle form of self-abandonment. It's a disguised way of begging for approval, of avoiding rejection, of trying to control how others see you. But that control has a price, and the price is your peace. Think of your energy like a currency. Each thought, each emotion, each action spends a little bit of it. And unlike money, you can't earn it back as easily. It's limited, very limited. Every time you react to something meaningless, every time you argue with someone who isn't worth your time, every time you try to prove yourself, you're draining that currency. And what happens when your energy is drained? You become vulnerable. You become easy prey. Manipulators, opportunists, even well-meaning but needy people, These types sense it. They know you don't guard your energy. They know you'll react, and they take advantage. Jung understood this better than anyone. He said a healthy psyche knows how to keep energy within the system. This doesn't mean being a robot or shutting everyone out. It means learning to say no without guilt. It means staying silent without feeling weak. It means observing before acting. It means knowing when to walk away. Because real power isn't in reacting. It's in choosing when and how to act. But here's where things get darker. Most of your reactions aren't even conscious choices. They're programmed. They're automatic. The people around you, especially the opportunistic ones, know this. They know exactly what button to press. They know what insult will make you defend yourself. They know what guilt trip will make you apologize. They know how to trigger you because you've been predictable your whole life. Carl Jung called this projection the psychological mechanism where people project onto others what they can't see in themselves. But it doesn't end there. Because while others project onto you, you become the receptacle. You become the screen for their movie. You stop being a person in their eyes and instead become a role. The fixer, the comforter, the listener, the one who will always be there. And why do you agree to play that role? Because you're afraid. Afraid of disappointing. Afraid of being unloved. Afraid of being left behind. The most powerful manipulation isn't loud. It doesn't happen with threats or shouting. It happens in silence, inside your own guilt. It's when you feel like you owe something to others. That you need to respond, to help, to understand, even when it destroys you inside. That's the trap. And here's the cruel genius of it. The manipulator doesn't even have to control you. They just need you to keep reacting the same way. That's enough to keep you chained, but when you stop reacting, the chains break. When you start saying no, when you choose silence instead of arguing, when you withdraw instead of explaining yourself, everything shifts. The mask they put on you falls. And that unsettles people deeply because they no longer know who you are, or worse, who they are without you. Your unavailability is a mirror. It forces people to face their own emptiness. Your silence forces them to hear the noise inside their own minds, and not everyone is ready for that. That's why when you withdraw, expect pushback, expect accusations, expect emotional drama. Not because you're wrong, but because your refusal to play the old role exposes the shadows they've been running from. Jung once said, "We do not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." When you withdraw, when you stop feeding the cycle, other people's shadows begin to surface, and yes, it's uncomfortable. Not just for them, for you too. Are you ready to be misunderstood, rejected, even attacked for protecting yourself? Are you ready to endure the silence after the rupture? When the noise dies down and you're left with only your own company? Because that's where real power is born. The modern world hates silence. It thrives on noise, notifications, arguments, opinions, debates. Everyone wants to be heard, to be right, to be seen. But silence is terrifying. Not the silence of cowardice, but the silence of power. Strategic silence, conscious silence. The silence that says, "I don't owe you a reaction." That silence is not absence, it's amplified presence. And here's the secret. Silence changes the rules. As long as you argue, you're still in the game. As long as you explain yourself, you're still in the script. But when you go silent, you flip the board. The manipulator loses their control. The opportunist loses their script. They don't know what to do with you anymore. This is why true silence is mastery over your own energy. It's refusing to let others drag you into battles that aren't worth fighting. It's the conscious choice to conserve your psychic energy for what really matters. Jung said individuation requires this distancing because only in silence can you finally hear yourself. But don't be fooled. Silence has a cost. It will distance you from people who only valued you for your usefulness. It will make you incomprehensible to those who never wanted to know you, only what you gave them. It will make some call you cold, arrogant, selfish. But all of that is a reflection of them, not of you. The ones who leave when you set boundaries, they never loved you. They loved your availability. And then something beautiful happens. Out of the silence comes solitude. Not the loneliness of abandonment, but the solitude of wholeness, the solitude of finally being present with yourself, the solitude of no longer betraying yourself just to keep others close. In that solitude, where there was once anxiety, peace enters. Where there was once confusion, clarity enters. Where there was once neediness, strength enters. This is the rebirth. Jung taught that individuation, the process of becoming who you truly are, requires stepping away from the collective, leaving behind the mask, and walking alone for a time. That solitude isn't punishment, it's transformation. Because when you stop being available to everyone, you stop being shaped by their demands, you stop being molded by their expectations, and you start shaping yourself. You start building a life where you don't accept emotional crumbs, where you don't settle for toxic dynamics, where you don't waste energy on voids disguised as affection. You begin to choose only what resonates with your peace, your truth, your wholeness. Yes, you will lose people, but you will find yourself. Yes, you will be misunderstood, but you will finally be respected. Yes, you will walk alone for a while, but in that solitude, you will discover freedom. So I'll ask you one last time, are you ready? Are you ready to be misunderstood, rejected, even hated if it means reclaiming your inner freedom? Are you ready to pay the price of being yourself? Because make no mistake, there is a price, but what you gain in return is priceless. When you stop being available for everyone, you become valuable, rare, unforgettable. And when you choose your own peace, you step into a life where you no longer exist as someone's convenience. You exist as your authentic self. So if this message resonates with you, write it in the comments right now. I choose my peace. Because that decision, that moment, might just be the turning point of your life. And as you sit with this thought, remember, your silence is not weakness, it is strength, it is power. It is the weapon that disarms manipulation and the path that leads to freedom. Because when you stop being available, everything changes.